Hello and welcome to the MUFON Midwest podcast. I'm your host, Margie Kay. And of course, we discuss UFOs in the Midwest region and the Central region. The Central region consists of North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, and Missouri. But we're interested in UFOs in this entire area. And moving forward, we will be discussing things with state officers, also field investigators, and eyewitnesses. And today, my guest is Jerred Nelson. He likes to be called Jer. His remarkable journey from a seasoned military aviator and US Army Warrant Officer to a leading figure in investigation and study of unidentified flying objects underscores a life dedicated to exploring the frontiers of the known and the unknown. With a bachelor's in professional aeronautics and a master's in aviation sciences and space studies, Jerred's 4-decade-long career in aviation has seamlessly transitioned into a passionate inquiry into phenomena that challenge our understanding of the world and beyond. In his current roles as the Assistant State Director for Minnesota and North Dakota MUFON and co-director of Northland MUFON, Jerred occupies a pivotal position in the regional and national network of researchers dedicated to the scientific study and understanding of UAPs. Furthermore, as a contributing member of the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, he is at the forefront of efforts at being a rigorous, evidence-based approach to the study of these phenomena, bridging the gap between anecdote and academia. Welcome to the program, Jerred.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for having me, Margie. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I know there's a lot going on in your neck of the woods, and you're very busy with UFO sightings constantly. I was wondering if you could just kind of start off with an overview of the area you work in and how your states work together.
Yeah, sure. We started this, the Northland chapter, a couple of years ago. Minnesota has a chapter. They've been around for a long time. Northland is actually northern Minnesota, kind of a state section. North Dakota hasn't had a chapter in a few years. They had some difficulties several years back. So one of the field investigators for Minnesota actually lives in the Fargo area. So they decided that they're going to become the North Dakota state director. And they asked if we could just kind of combine the northern section of Minnesota with North Dakota. We'll just call ourselves the Northland chapter. And that worked out really well. We've been at it now for a year and a half, almost 2 years. We got a great website, northlandmufon.com. Check it out. We're getting reports all the time. The way the reports work is if it's a North Dakota report, we'll go to the North Dakota field investigators. If it's a Minnesota report, it'll go to both the Minnesota field investigators and also the Northland section field investigators. So between Northland and Minnesota, there really isn't much of a difference as far as case assignments go. Just the obvious, if you're in a different state, you get different assignments. And then, of course, with Northland MUFON, we do simultaneous meetings together. We'll do one in Fargo, live in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, and then live online. And we do that all at the same time on the same day, so we're all kind of connected via Zoom. And it works out. There's usually a fairly decent crowd, and we have some decent presenters, and it's a good time. It's a good time. Try to do it the third or the fourth weekend of the month. It just depends upon what else is going on. Mm-hmm. But overall, I've been doing really well.
And you do always have really good presenters. Can you mention who your presenter is for this month?
Oh, absolutely. This month, August 16th. Let me make sure I got that date right. Yep, August 16th, we have Bill Konkoleski. He is the Michigan State Director. Met him back in 2010 at a conference in Pennsylvania, actually. He's a lifelong experiencer. He's got some really good stories, really good encounters that he's had, and he's going to be with us via Zoom. He's going to tell us all about it. He wrote a couple of books, Experiencer, Raised in Two Worlds, and Experiencer 2, I forget the title of that, but they're both on Amazon. You can look him up, Bill Konkoleski, great guy. And I'm looking forward to that one. It should be a good meeting for sure.
That sounds really good. Can anybody attend those meetings online?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We do not cut off anybody from attending these. You can attend it in person, again, at Fargo or in Grand Rapids at the VFW. And online, anybody can join. We don't charge admission. If you want to do it online, like you're not in that general area, which I completely understand, just go to our website, northlandmufon.com, and there are links there to the Zoom for that day. So costs nothing. You can Zoom in with us and see what's going on. You can interact live with the presenter. So it's a good time. I'd like to see you. I'd like to have you. Anybody and everybody is welcome to join our Zoom meetings.
Well, that's great. I'm so glad to see so much activity in your region, in your area, and of course, you're a member of the Central Region MUFON.
Yep.
And you've been a contributing writer to the newsletter, and just a lot of great stuff, and we really do appreciate that. So this evening we're going to talk about a certain case that you have been involved in, and some of your field investigators or a field investigator. Let's just jump right into that and tell us the background on that.
Okay, well, actually, I got a couple of different cases, but we'll talk about one, the video I sent you. But before we show that video, before we get into that, we kind of got to back up several years back to the late 80s when I was in the Marine Corps, when I was a crew chief mechanic on helicopters. We were doing testing. So we go out and we'd fix a helicopter, whatever was wrong with it. I don't remember what it was that day, but we did something to the aircraft. Had to take it out and fly it, make sure everything was working correctly, and then bring it back. This was at Camp Pendleton back in, gosh, I'd probably say this is probably 87 or 88 when this happened. It was a Cobra AH-1J, and myself and certain captain were working. Well, I was working on it, but the Cobra's a single pilot aircraft, so I was able to fly with them, which was really cool. As an enlisted guy, that was awesome to go out and fly with these guys. So we work on the helicopter. We'd hop in, go out, fly it, and bring it back. I did a few more adjustments, but before we went back out, a staff sergeant came out and booted me because he wanted to go out and get some flight time, which is fine. You know, that happens. And I get enough flight time as it was because that was kind of my thing. So these two guys hop in the aircraft. They take it out over the coast. They're flying up over the coast, and they said a basketball-size metallic silver sphere comes flying by the cockpit. It was about, like I said, it was probably about that big, that big or whatever, and it really caught their attention. They came back, told me about it, and really from there, I kind of wanted to start looking into it. But that was the only time that happened then. Fast forward many years, now I'm a field investigator for Northland in Minnesota, and we get a case from McGregor, which is just northeast of Mille Lacs Lake, a big lake in the center of Minnesota State. And this gentleman was out walking one morning. He was walking just down this country road. He came to what was a clearing over on his right-hand side. He was walking north, so it was over on his east. And he saw the same thing, a silver sphere about the size of a basketball come flying over the trees. It just about flew right over top of him and then departed. So he saw it for a total of like maybe 5 or 6 seconds. He says it wasn't moving really fast, but it was just a sphere. It was silent, and that was it. There was nothing else to it. Well, now we go fast forward about a year and a half, and our chief investigator from North Dakota is out driving around looking at houses with his son in the Fargo area, Sabine, and you can roll the video if you want, but driving down the road, and they see the same thing. He gets out his camera, and he starts to film. So I'll try to narrate this as we're looking at it.
Okay, here we go.
So he's driving down the road. He's already seen it, I think, at this point. So he's kind of speeding up to get down to the end of the street. He's going to make a left-hand turn. And we don't really see this thing yet, but we're going to see it here in a second. Okay, so now this thing has already crossed the road. I don't think you see it again. And it's over this cornfield. So they're rolling down the window, trying to get over it. Right on top of the really good. Now he loses it. Then he finds a water tower. So he kind of gets confused with that. He thinks the water tower is it, but it's not. But that's okay. He'll forget that and he'll come back to where it was. So he sees that as a water tower. Now he comes back over here. He's looking for it, and there it is, right there in the center. He's zooming in, and his thing just continued to fly. I mean, that's a really, really good video. This thing continued to fly. It started to climb, and it goes up into the clouds. But before that, you do see it go in front of a tower, so you kind of get a perspective on how large or small this thing actually is.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so I don't know what happened there. There we go. Okay, it's already gone up into the clouds.
It's already gone. Okay, hang on, let me back it up.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. There you go. Right in front of the tower, so you can get a perspective. You can get an idea of how big or small this thing actually is. Then now it just kind of goes straight up. Now you might think, well, maybe this was a balloon, but that thing was doing some straight line flying. It made a 90-degree turn, and it wasn't flopping around like a balloon would in that wind. It just very smooth and very straight. So that caught on film in Sabine, Minnesota, I think about 2 years ago now. Awesome footage. Excellent footage.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you get that analyzed?
We did send it in, and I believe they thought it was still a balloon. Anna Scott, the North Dakota State Director, fought him on that, and they came back and said, yeah, okay, maybe you're right, maybe it wasn't. They're not sure what it is anymore, so we're calling it an unknown, but definitely not a balloon. Definitely not. The way that you saw it, it was right above the cornfield, as it's going on, and it's going on a straight line, and then just kind of starts to climb, and it descends a little bit again. Well, maybe it didn't descend. I'd have to look at it again real close. It's been a while. This is the first time I've seen it in a while. But then you see it go in front of that tower and then kind of straight up into the clouds. So I do not think that was a balloon at all.
Now, balloons just kind of waft in the wind, and unless it's really, really windy, the wind might push it around a bit, but it's going to be unstable. It's just did not behave like a balloon at all. It was also too fast.
Right.
Moving way too fast. So.
Yeah. And you really couldn't see any strings or anything dangling down underneath it, none of that kind of stuff. So,
well, maybe not at that distance, but still, that looked anomalous.
Yep, exactly. So that was a really good case that we had a couple of years ago. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. Some other cases that we've had, and I'll get into my case here in a little bit, just because I haven't talked about it in a while, and I figured why not, I talked to a person down in the Twin Cities, down in the Minneapolis area. This person was out walking. This was back in the 60s. They were a teenager at the time. They were walking home. They were walking by a graveyard off to their left, and they said they just stopped because they felt like something was watching them. And they looked up over towards their left, and there was this 40 to 50 foot UFO just hovering right above the cemetery, just sitting there. Well, they look around, saying, trying to find someone, to point it out and make sure this person isn't going crazy. Well, of course, nobody is there. This is in the 60s. That's understandable. I mean, things change in 70 years, or 60 years. So they walk home. They got just about to the end of the cemetery, and they couldn't, because they walked because they didn't want to show fear. They didn't want this thing to know that they were scared. So they walked as far as they could. They got down to the end of the street and they bolted. They couldn't handle it anymore. They bolted for the house, ran into the house, grabbed the mom, said, "Mom, you got to come out and see this," just kind of freaking out. So they grab the mom, they go outside, you point at it, and mom just says, "I don't know what that is, and we're never going to talk about it again." And they went back in the house. And that was the end of it.
That's one way of dealing with it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And again, that's in the 60s. So, I mean, during then, it's like people you don't see that kind of stuff, or else people are going to think you're crazy. And that's
Right.
probably what the mother was thinking. Is like, we don't see that. It doesn't exist. Not happening. So anyhow, that was an interesting one. That person had never seen anything else since. That was just kind of a one-time thing, but it had bugged them for that long. They had to get it off their chest and tell somebody. So that was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. And people do that. They're older people have been coming forward for years, it seems like, and they say, I just need someone to know this happened. I couldn't tell my family or my friends because they would have thought I was crazy.
Yeah. And actually, the first case that I got as a MUFON investigator happened in Isanti, Minnesota, which is just north of the Twin Cities, north of Minneapolis, St. Paul. And it was an older gentleman. But this guy, he'd been telling people throughout his life, not a lot of people, but a few people here and there. And people believe him, some people don't. I asked him, I said, well, why do you want to bring this to our attention now? He says, well, I just want to get it on record. I just want people everybody to know this, so that they know what the heck's going on. And it was his granddaughter that kind of finally convinced him to do that. So he wrote a letter with this, and I'll try to read some of the letter because it makes more sense if I read that. I can find it. So, okay. So anyhow, he says, I imagine most of us have regrets of different magnitude, a path not taken, education, work, a lost love. A great storyteller already. This is a true story, which happens to be of a UFO sighting and of, if not one of my biggest regrets. So in early spring of April of 1969, I'm driving down a country road just outside of Isanti, Minnesota, towards the Bar L Country Club with my good friends, such and such and such and such. They were in I had to ask them. They were in a 55 Chevy, so everybody was up on the front seat. It was a bench seat, no seat belts, plenty of room for those people that know what kind of car that is.
Mm-hmm.
So all three of them were there. One of the guys who was on leave, he'd just come back from Vietnam. But they're going to go walk around the golf course that night just because that was just something to do. They had nothing else to do that night, so they're going to go walk around the golf course. He says, I should mention that although it was the late 60s and we're all about 21 years old, we had not ingested anything to that point that would have affected our perceptions, not even beer. So he's saying totally sober, 100%. Mm-hmm. Said it was a clear night, moonless night, probably about 8 or 9 o'clock. We were about 500 feet from the corner to turn left when one of the guys leans forward while looking up out of the windshield and just is dumbfounded. You see, it kind of looks up and says, what in the heck is that? Well, this guy, he looks up, immediately slams on the brake and jumps out of the car. He says, my initial glance showed a large diameter green light that was just ahead and above the car. When I jumped out, the light continued moving slowly ahead, and it's impossible to accurately estimate sizes with no reference points, but the light seemed to be about 5 foot in diameter and about 30 to 40 feet in the air. I did ask him, says, well, what did the craft look like? And he says he couldn't see the craft. All he could see was that light, and that was it. Mm-hmm. It says it seems that there were other lights around the object, but since they were not pointed at us, they didn't really register. He says, what was unique about the light and something that I've never heard or read of was that the light didn't shine out like a beacon or a spotlight, but instead it was like looking up a green smoke-filled tube. It had depth, but no spot that was brighter than any other, very uniform. So I asked him about that. I says, it's like, well, maybe if you're underwater, underwater flashlights and stuff like that. And he says, yeah, it was very similar to that. It wasn't necessarily just light, but it actually had something to it, So anyhow, he goes on and says, the night was so dark that we couldn't make out the shape of the craft. It continued slowly moving ahead over the road. It seemed to take about 30 seconds to a minute to get to the corner ahead of us. Then it took a 90-degree turn left, but then the light stayed pointed north, so towards them, pretty much. The craft altered course without turning, so it just came to a stop and then moved. Said it slowly moved east, still over the road for about 100 feet, and then stopped for about a minute. It then continued in the same direction for about another 100 yards or so. Took a 90-degree turn to the left, also without turning, just moved. Said it was now paralleling the road coming back to the north at about treetop level. As it got close to even with us, it started to rise up a little bit. As it did, and this is also something that I hadn't heard of, waves of distortion started to emanate from the craft, completely surrounding it. Even though it was dark, I could see the energy waves, which were building up, but were transparent, but had a green edge to them, if that makes any sense, which I can visualize that. I see what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden, it just took off. Bam, incredible speed, just arcing up and away to a point of light, which rose up and disappeared in less time than it takes to read this. So it was gone, just like that. He says, well, I got back in the car, decided to drive as we tried to start to talk about what we just saw. Before we got to the corner, this is funny. Before they got to the corner, one of the guys said that they wondered why it had stopped over the road and where were we about to turn, the road that they were going to turn on. He says, well, maybe they just dropped somebody off. Well, they turned the corner, and illuminated by the headlights was a woman walking down towards the Bar L ranch, or Bar L place where they were going. Of course, the jaws dropped the chest. We couldn't say a word as we slowly drove by. She appeared to be in her 40s and 50s, stocky, was dressed in a navy skirt with jacket, dress shoes, carrying shopping bags. In any other situation, I would presume that she was just shopping, had been shopping down in the cities and then taking the bus back and was walking home. The problem with that is that we were 2 miles from town with half of the distance being on gravel roads, and it just didn't seem to fit right. We turned into the golf club, the golf course, and did our thing. And if she continued walking straight ahead, there was, and there still is, a housing development along the Rum River there where she may have been going. The big regret, of course, is that they didn't stop. They didn't, he says, we either would have had a solid citizen to corroborate our stories, or we may have been offered a ride. Guess we'll never know. So that one right there is it's just amazing, and of course, like I said, his biggest regret is he didn't stop to find out who this woman was. Was she just dropped off by these people, or was she walking down the road and they never saw her? What? It's just amazing. And that was the first case I got as a MUFON field investigator. So
that happens. I know a number of field investigators who had just crazy stuff dropped in their lap for their first solo investigation.
Oh yeah. It was great. Yeah. It was great. Absolutely loved it.
Oh my gosh. Right.
So
back to the silver sphere for just a minute. I've had a number of cases around military installations, air base here near Kansas City, Lake City Army ammo plant, where people have witnessed silver spheres. And I wonder what the connection is to the military with those things.
That is a really, really good question. There have been a lot of these silver spheres being reported lately. And it makes you wonder if it wasn't, if that's not actually a probe, their way of coming in and just checking everything without being here. I don't know if it's a communications thing or what. I have no idea, but yeah, and a lot of them are seen by the military bases, just like that one back in the late 80s was over by Camp Pendleton, and that was near the airfield. I don't think there was, well, actually, I'll take that back. There's a rifle range that it flew over. Not that that would really matter. And I guess if it was coming from the north, there's an infantry camp right there. It's all part of Camp Pendleton, but there was a San Onofre infantry base, I guess, for lack of a better word, where they do a lot of training and stuff. So I don't know. That is the $100,000 question. What is that all about?
Some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have another one for us?
Okay. This one happened in Grand Rapids about 3 years ago. This gentleman got up one morning, and so when he woke up middle of the night, about 3:30 in the morning. He gets up early anyhow. But he got up about 3:30 in the morning. He said the whole room was just kind of bathed in a blue light with little shimmers here and there, and then it just kind of faded and went away. And he's like, had no idea what was going on with that. I think you and I could probably figure that one out, but he just kind of shook that one off. I was like, okay, that was just weird. Let's get on with my day. So he hopped in his car. He's headed to work in his truck. He's headed to work, and it's all rural roads up here. And he's coming up on this farm, and he sees some lights behind these trees. Well, he gets past the trees, and he sees this big old giant UFO hovering over a farmhouse, or at least their farm land complex, I guess, for lack of a better word. You know how farms are. And he said the weirdest thing is the dogs weren't making any noise. At least he didn't hear any dogs, He saw horses there, but the horses weren't moving, and it's like they were frozen, which is really weird. And of course, so he gets out of his truck, and the only thing he can think of to do is to yell at the UFO. It's like, you're here, you're doing all these things. Why aren't you helping us? We're in dire straits. We're screwing everything up left and right. I'm just going off on him, And he kept hearing in his head, says, this doesn't concern you. Go away, go about your business, move along. Nothing to see here,
Oh, my.
And he's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. And just kind of kept on his tirade, Well, after a while, he got tired of yelling at him. So he hops back in his truck and he starts to leave. He gets about quarter mile, half a mile down the road, and he sees this light coming from behind him. But before he could turn around, he felt like something just slammed him in the back of the head. So he slams on the brake, slams on the brakes, and for an instant, he thought he saw somebody sitting next to him, And then he said to him, he said, what the heck was that? And then, of course, that person's gone, and this light just kind of disappears off into the horizon. But he's like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. So anyhow, he told his wife about it that night. And of course, his wife believed him. I've talked to him several times. I do believe him. He did go up to the farm and talk to the person that lives there, and they had no recollection of anything. Nothing. He says that he had dogs, and the dogs were silent. They didn't say anything at all that night. At least they didn't wake him up, So,
the frozen horses.
Yes.
Makes me think of a time anomaly occurring, where the UFO somehow controlled time, and so he could have his experience, but maybe nobody else noticed it. Maybe the horses didn't notice it, or dogs. Or if they did, they would have been outside of that time period.
They have a way of affecting people's perceptions, and there's no reason why they couldn't do that to animals too. Have you ever read the Andreessen Affair?
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing with that, where she talks about they're coming in and they're taking her, and she can see the rest of her family just frozen in place, not doing anything.
Yes.
So it reminded me of that, which is really, really crazy. Really something weird. So
some wild stuff.
Yeah. So if anybody out there hasn't read that book yet, The Andreessen Affair, highly recommend it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep. All right. Really, that just brings us back to my case. So what else would you like to talk about?
Well, how many cases do you get, say, per month?
Oh, geez. It has fluctuated a lot. Our normal caseload per month is about 7 or 8.
Okay.
So, and we've got maybe a dozen field investigators, so we're able to run everybody through, and everybody should get a case at least once every other month.
But are they pretty dissipated throughout the state, or do you have any areas where you need field investigators?
Well, no, unfortunately, just like anything else, a lot of the sightings are in the populated areas for obvious reasons. There's more people to see it. We do get several out of Duluth, which is not as populated, but there's still a large percent or a large number of people there. As far as throughout the rest of northern Minnesota up here, we get a few here and there, but not a lot. So I say not a lot, but I mean, we get at least one a month from up here too. So I guess that's what, maybe 15% of the
Mm-hmm.
cases we get each month are up north, which is kind of nice. It gives me something to go do, for sure. So,
Is there any time of year that where there seems to be more sightings than usual?
this summer
Mhm.
seems to be more sightings, but
Okay.
then again, you could correlate that with people are out more. There's more people up here during the summer because it's kind of a touristy type area. We have had some hunters had some experiences, which is kind of in the fall after everybody's pretty much left. During the winter, not too much. Actually, my second case happened not just a few miles from my house, happened in the middle of winter in a snowstorm, which was kind of interesting. Guy was coming up on a hill. Behind the hill, he could see a set of lights. He figured it was just headlights. It was like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. People get up early here for whatever reason. I haven't figured it out yet. Anyhow, because I don't. Anyhow, so he's kind of driving up the hill, and he sees these headlights, and the headlights just go out. So when he gets up towards the top of the hill, he's thinking, great, somebody had a wreck. Snowmobile's in the ditch, or the car's going to be in the ditch, whatever. But when he got up there, there was nothing. The lights had just vanished. So was that something? I have no idea. He didn't see anything fly off. He didn't see anything other than just the lights, and they just disappeared. So that one was kind of interesting. But that one happened just a few miles from my house. So that's pretty cool, especially for being like, I think that was like my second one. So pretty awesome.
What have you personally seen?
Okay. My personal experiences happened a long time ago, and things may have happened when I was younger. I don't know. I look back on a few things and kind of wonder, but the big one, and I think I was just the bystander on this one. I honestly don't think that they were there for me at all. But I was in the Army. At the time, I was living in a dorm room, for lack of a better way of saying it. It was just me and two other guys. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was up on the top bunk. There's bunk beds in there. I was on the top bunk. A friend of mine was on the bottom bunk. And then there was another bunk that had another buddy of mine sleeping on the bottom. And when I woke up, sleeping on my stomach, and I was kind of looking over towards the door at the time. And right there at the door was your stereotypical gray standing right there, not 10 feet from me, And right away, I noticed that his head height was the same as the doorknob. So the next time you look at a door, take a look at the doorknob, and you'll see that's how tall this person is. So you can visualize that. That'll freak you out in the middle of the night.
Very, very small.
Yes. So anyhow, I was kind of thinking to myself, says, well, you know what can I do to draw attention to this? I thought, I could maybe yell and scream or do something, get people's attention, to get people in here, maybe wake up my bunkmates here, But then I also thought that if I'm dreaming, I'm going to look like the crazy one. So I just decided just to stay silent. So, yeah. So I'm laying there, I'm checking this guy out. I look kind of over a little bit to the right there, and I see the shadow of another one. And it looks like he's doing some type of procedure to my bunkmate underneath me. I have no idea what, not a clue. I'd say I couldn't move, but I didn't try to move because I was in the military, you're silent, you stay still, you don't move, you just observe, So that's what I was doing, just observing. So I saw that and then looked back over towards the gray at the door, and I just decided I was looking over. So, I kind of looked at his face, his head, down his shoulder, down his arms. And then before I got to his hands, I thought, hey, I wonder if he has some type of insignia on his chest. Well, just as I thought that, he looked over at me and saw me. So he pointed his finger over at me. I could see his mouth moving. I couldn't hear anything, but I could see his mouth moving, like he was telling the other beings in the room that, hey, this bozo up here is awake. And very shortly after that, I heard a voice in my head. It said, close your eyes. He'll think you're asleep. It was my voice too, by the way.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, when I first heard that, I said, yeah, hey, that's a great idea. But who talks to themselves like that? I mean, honestly, who comes up with that kind of stuff and then actually answers yourself? We joke about it all the time, but we don't really actually do that. So, like an idiot, I close my eyes, and next thing I know, when I open them, they're all gone. So I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe I was just sleeping. It was a dream. It was nothing. Well, I woke up, exact same position, looking in the exact same direction. It was just, everything was exactly the same. They were just gone. So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. The next morning when I got up, as I'm getting dressed, one of my other roommates, the third guy that was on the other bunk, says, hey, Jerred, where did you get those 3 welts on your back? And I just laughed it off, said, I don't know. Put my shirt on and went on with the day. Now, like an idiot, I could have walked 5 feet and looked in the bathroom mirror to see those things, but I never saw them. I never looked at them. It was just, we're letting it go. We're not going to worry about it. We're in the Army. We're trying to go through the process here. Just got other things to worry about. So that was that story there. That's just crazy. Just real crazy.
It is shocking the first time you see a non-human entity.
Yeah.
Especially one so close.
The thing is, people say, a lot of people, they get scared. They're seeing something they never even thought of ever seeing before. And I get that. And it's the middle of the night, and you're like on Star Trek. And I laugh every time I think about this. And I don't remember exactly who was talking, but one of the alien characters was talking to Captain Picard, the captain of the Enterprise for a new generation. And he was telling him the thought of laying unconscious for 8 hours terrifies him, because he was a warrior type thing. So when these things show up in the middle of the night, you're unconscious on your bed, and they got full reign to do whatever the heck they want. Just doesn't seem right. But honestly, I felt no fear. Absolutely not. It was just curious. I want to say amusement, but that's not the right word. It was more curiosity. It's like, hey, what the heck is this? Because I've always been into UFOs and that kind of stuff. So, when I saw it,
but still that reaction for seeing them for the first time, I really don't think that was the first time. I think you've got stuff buried in there in your brain.
Maybe. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But... yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you about one time that I had some missing time. And I'll say this for the audience, so that if you've had this, let me know, because this just absolutely boggles my mind.
Okay.
So I'm on a meeting, just similar to this, and this is in the same room, playing that piano. No, I'm just kidding. That's the screen background. Anyhow, on a meeting here, and I look at the time, and it's like 7:17 it was. And I was waiting for the meeting to get over. The meeting got over about 7:30. I went upstairs into our bedroom, and my wife was laying in bed watching a movie. So we sat.
You just froze up, Jerred. I assume you're trying to fix that. So hopefully we'll get you back. Okay. I think we've got you back now. You froze up there for a minute.
Stupid thing. Okay, you'll have to edit that out if you can. Anyhow, so where was I?
You went upstairs and your wife was asleep?
Okay, yep, I went upstairs. I talked to my wife. She wasn't asleep yet. It was about 7:30ish. She was watching the movie, laying in bed. So I sat and talked with her for a little while. And then she decided she was gonna go to sleep. So I went over on the couch and I started watching this movie. Well, I looked at my clock, or my watch, and it was about 8 o'clock. And I'm like, well, hey, I've got an hour before I need to go to bed, because I got to get up in the morning. So I'm just going to go out in the other room and watch TV out there so I don't bother her. So I get up, walk out in the other room. I throw a log in our fireplace. I go make myself a sandwich. I sit down. I turn on the same movie that we were watching in there. And about 25 minutes goes by, give or take. And I look up the clock, and it said 9:25.
Oh,
I was like, wait a minute. How does that happen? So I look over my immediate thought, take a look at the firewood. The firewood was where it was supposed to be. It wasn't burnt out.
Oh.
So sometime between when I looked at my watch and it said 8 o'clock in the bedroom to when I walked out there. And I mean, it was smooth for me. 8 o'clock, and I got up and I walked in there and through the fire, the wood and the fire. Where in there did I lose an hour? I have no idea. So anyhow.
Have you ever been regressed?
Huh?
Have you ever been regressed?
Once it did. Well, actually, it was before that. So I tried hypnosis once, and it didn't work out so well. It just didn't work.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't mind trying it again. Yeah, I wouldn't mind trying it again, but I don't know. So that's my stories.
Oh boy, well, the missing time. That's pretty common thing to occur with UFO witnesses.
Sure.
Either at the time of an event, or like you just described, some just random time just disappeared for you. Where you had missing time. Have you ever had time move forward for you? In other words, you get someplace where it should take an hour to get there, but you're there in a minute.
No.
Has that ever happened?
I wish. That'd be really nice, but no.
It's happened to me, and I know it's happened to other people. It seems that once you are, we'll just say, a UFO witness, weird things happen to you on a regular basis.
Right.
And it just seems to be with everybody that this occurs to. And then some people never ever see a UFO. And
I have never seen a UFO.
Oh,
I would say I saw the little gray dude, but I have never seen a UFO.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. You did not see a craft.
Nope, never seen one. Not that I know of. How about that?
Yeah. Well, not that you recall.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. So, have you ever tried the CE5 contact method?
No, I haven't tried that either. I've tried meditating. I'm not good at it at all. But as Earl Anderson says, be careful poking the bear, because the bear pokes back. I started doing that, and about 3-4 months after I did that, laying in bed, and this could have been a dream. This could have been a dream, hallucination from sleep paralysis. I will 100% admit that on this one. But I'm laying in bed, and all of a sudden my whole body begins to vibrate. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, well, there's the vibration. And then I felt my body start to lift up, and then that was it. I don't remember anything else. So again, that could have been a hallucination. That could have been a dream. I don't know. But
well, that's a typical astral travel experience. That's the beginning of leaving your body.
Yeah, it is. And I was laying in bed. It was in the middle of the night, so it wasn't brought on by me, not that I know of. Again, so
sometimes it's spontaneous. It can be spontaneous like that.
Yeah.
If you're in a very relaxed state.
Yeah, I don't remember anything. So, like I said, I felt my body starting to come up, and then nothing else after that. So, I am going to go do some hypnosis in Fargo. If I can plug her, Ellie Mayer with Full Circle Soul. She does Dolores Cannon's QHHT. She's a level 3, and check out her website, fullcirclesoul.com. I'm going to have her regress me at some point. We've been talking about it for about 6 months now. Just we haven't been able to line up the right timing to make it happen. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, that method takes longer than normal hypnosis, but it also allows the person to go deeper. And a lot of people have success with that when they're trying to recall events.
Well, I hope so. Because as I tell experiencers that I work with through the Experiencer Resource Team, and even just some witnesses that I've talked to that are thinking about doing the hypnosis thing, just remember that when you do the hypnosis, that any of those memories that you recover are now going to be with you forever. You'll probably never forget them. So there may be a reason the ETs are making us forget, other than just for their own purposes, but maybe there was some trauma there that they don't want us to remember. I don't know. So there's that caveat to doing the hypnosis type thing. So
True.
I'm prepared for it. I'm ready for it. Bring it, but we'll see. I don't expect anything, but I don't know. No idea. I would like just to go back at least to that time that I was in the dorm and just to check that guy out again, kind of get a better look at him if I can. That I would like to do. If anything else pops up when we're doing that kind of stuff, then we'll explore that, see what happens.
You mentioned the Experiencer Resource Team. Can you tell the people watching what that is?
Oh, absolutely. Experiencer Resource Team. Okay. So not only do we have people that just plain UFO sightings, but obviously you're going to have people that have an experience that is a lot more than just the UFO, like mine in the dorm, or other people like Andreessen. What is her first name? Andreessen.
Betty
Andreessen. That, or even Betty and Barney Hill. Now that you say Betty, thank you for doing that. So, the kind of the abduction thing, or just some other weird things that have happened to them. The Experiencer Resource Team is there to help you. So you'll go to MUFON.com, and I believe it's up on top. They just changed the website. It's report a UFO. Then there's also, it says report an experience or report an abduction or something like that.
Think it's report an abduction. Okay, now we're frozen up a little bit here.
Yes, am I back?
There. Okay, we got you back.
God, that's frustrating. Okay. I'm getting that looked at tomorrow. Report the abduction. You'll go through and you'll fill out an experiencer questionnaire. That experiencer questionnaire, depending upon how you do it, because now they make you do a UFO report along with it. But the experiencer questionnaire will go to George Medich, who's the head of the ERT, Experiencer Resource Team. And then he will farm that out to us members in the appropriate areas, state locations and stuff like that, to get a hold of you, to get you the help that you need. And that could be just us talking. We have support groups available. We have a list of vetted hypnotherapists. There's lots of resources that we have to help you. So don't feel like you're alone, because you're not. This stuff happens to a lot of people. And a lot of people stay quiet about it, and a lot of people are having a hard time with it, and I 100% understand that. But just know that we're here for you. We're here to help, and that's the whole reason the ERT was put together by Kathleen Martin, who is the niece of Betty and Barney Hill, actually. She started the whole thing, and she's still part of it. But we're there to help you. So don't feel like you're alone.
It's a safe place to go to talk to someone who will understand.
Absolutely. 100%. Most of us, I'm not going to say all of us, but a vast majority of us on the ERT have had some type of experience. So we do have an understanding of it. Obviously may not be the same type of experience specifically, but have had something strange happen to us that we can't explain. So we can definitely sympathize with you and empathize, and we're there for you. I can't say that enough.
Yeah. So. If people see a UFO, where should they report it?
MUFON.com. Okay, MUFON.com. Report a UFO. You'll fill out all the stuff. We're actually going through and we're changing the intake for that to make it a lot easier. Right now it's kind of long, and I apologize for that. But I didn't write it. But they're making a new app for it, and they're going to make it a lot shorter and put the onus more on the field investigators to get the information instead of you having to put everything in there. So you can just get your basic information on there, and then we can talk to you and get everything else that we need. You can also go to northlandmufon.com, northlandmufon.com. I'm plugging my website left and right. You can also go to northlandmufon.com, and there's a few places on there where you can click on report a UFO, and that will also take you to mufon.com in the same place. So there you have it, both places.
Okay. And the thing about MUFON that I like is cases get investigated. It's not one of those sites where they simply take your information and that's it.
Right.
A real investigator will call you and discuss your case and, get all of the details to it.
Yep. 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 And
And then, of course, we've got investigators who analyze video and photographs and will, discuss everything that occurred to you then. And they're also going to ask if that's the only time you've ever seen anything.
Yeah.
They'll ask about past events and take that information down. And it's really important to ufology to have a record of as many cases as possible. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't report because, as you said earlier, they're afraid people are going to think they're crazy. But this is a safe place to go because the public isn't going to know your name. We're not going to divulge that information to the public. And it's just a safe and reliable place to go to get your report in, but also so that it's on record.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. As you can tell, when I told those other stories before, I didn't give up who they were or exactly where they lived. It was, generalizations. So,
right.
Yeah, your info is definitely confidential. So.
We just have a couple more minutes here, and I've got some photos that you sent me. I'm going to pop them up here. If you would talk about these.
Sure. This is a 16-foot circle in northern Minnesota. That's all I'm going to say about the location for this. That nothing grows there, and nothing has grown there in over 50 years. I talked to a person that had a couple of sightings back in the early 70s. Okay, I got a couple of minutes. We'll get into this one here. So this guy's out. He was a teenager at the time, out in this general area. They had a shack that they had just built. Really proud of his shack, him and his buddy. And they're out there one evening, and outside of the shack, and they saw a light up in the sky. They're like, "Huh, well, that's interesting." Well, the light started coming down towards them, right? So they get scared. They don't know what the heck's going on. They run into the shack right there. They close the doors. They said that thing got so close that you could see the light coming through the nail holes and the distance between the boards and stuff like that. He said it was just crazy. He said it lasted maybe 10, 15 minutes and then it was gone. Okay, now they didn't notice the circle at that point. You fast forward a year later, same shack, same guy. This time it's his brother and another person, and they're going to have a sleepover in that shack because, like I said, they were proud of their shack. So, and obviously it was 2-story type of thing because they were sleeping up on the top. There was a window there. I have no idea how big this window is. We'll get to that in a second. This one guy is on the floor. His buddy's on the floor. His brother is also on the floor, but he's over the hatch that separates the bottom and the top. So the main floor and then the loft or whatever where they're sleeping. And they said in the middle of the night, same thing happened. A light comes in from the sky. It shines through the window. It wakes them all up. They're like, what in the world's going on? The next thing they know is they hear somebody, something, whatever, coming in the door underneath in that first story, I guess.
Oh, boy.
And it sounds like they're tearing the place apart, throwing things around, smashing things. They're hearing glass break. I mean, they're hearing everything, right? And the next thing you know, the brother that's on this hatch, all of a sudden he starts bouncing up and down because something's trying to get up at him.
Oh,
so they all hog pile on top of him, to keep this from happening. The one witness said it lasted maybe 5 minutes. The brother that was getting bounced up and down said, no, it was about 20 minutes. So, who knows between the two of them? It was 50 years ago. Well, that next morning, or, as the night goes on, nobody slept anymore. And they're kind of thinking, well, what the heck are we going to do? Let's just stay here. It's safe. Well, once the sun started coming up, and of course this thing is gone by this point. Once the sun started coming up, they finally got enough nerve to go downstairs to see just how destroyed their shack was. Well, they opened up the hatch and they walked downstairs and everything was pristine.
Yep.
Everything exactly where it was supposed to be. Nothing was
typical
broke.
Story.
Yeah, nothing was tossed around. It was amazing. So he the main witness goes to his house or whatever, and they had a bulldozer. Don't ask me. In northern Minnesota, we got all kinds of crazy stuff up here. He grabs a bulldozer. He went over and he just tore down that shack.
Oh,
tore it down, and he never went out there again until 2021. I think it was 2021 when I talked to him, and he brought me out to that shack. That was the first time he'd been, or the remains of the shack, the circle anyhow. That was the first time he'd been out there in 50 years. So I asked him, I says, well, how do you know about the circle that nothing's been growing? He says, well, my brother's been out there and my mom's been out there and stuff like that, but he refused to go. That was the first, he actually brought me out there. I was really, really proud of him for doing that. But sure enough, you saw the pictures there, and that was the circle. So
wow.
We did soil samples, sent it to the lab in Missouri there, your guys' lab.
Mm-hmm.
And we got down maybe a foot, and what became of that was everything was fine. Nothing really wrong with the soil except for the bottom layers. And I don't know how deep the bottom layer was, the definition of that. There was high levels of carbonate, which I asked, well, what does that mean? He says, well, at one point it was subjected to very high heat. And that was the only area that was like that. Mm. None of the other areas were like that, just in that circle alone. So nothing grew there, and nothing still grows there to this day, 50 plus years later, nothing grows there. So, of course, I did ask him, I says, do you remember seeing a scorch mark or anything like that? And he says, doesn't remember any of that stuff. He went and grabbed the bulldozer, knocked it down, left. 50 years ago, he didn't want to have nothing to do with it anymore. So,
your description just reminds me of a Steven Spielberg movie.
I know.
The light coming in, the boards, and the bed jumping up and down, the guy on the floor. Oh my God. I could just picture that we'll have to talk about that. Yeah, oh gosh, you got frozen up again. Okay. We'll wait for that. There you are. Okay, you're back. Yeah, you were
we'll
frozen.
Talk about that. I could hear you the whole time, so it's okay.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so these next two that I have that you sent, are they the same one or different?
They might be cases. The same.
Is this the same?
It's the same spot.
That's the same one?
Yeah.
And this is the same one. Okay. So that's the one case.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, Jerred, thank you so much for coming on this evening. It's really been quite interesting. There's always something going on in Northland MUFON, Minnesota area. Yeah, and you're right in the thick of it. So thank you for everything you do. Thank you for your work on the ERT. Of course, this is a volunteer position, and but once you get roped in MUFON, you're not getting out, right?
Pretty much, yeah. It takes over.
Interesting work, and you're doing a great job. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thanks, Margie. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay. We'll catch you soon. All right. Well, that does it for another MUFON Midwest show. And see you here again next week.